Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel Podcast. My name is Jeremy.
And my name is Ken.
And Ken, if you feel it,
Chase it!
all right. I said if you feel it,
Chase it!
woo! We are finally here at the epic conclusion of the global phenomenon that is the Glenn Powell trilogy of the Weekly Reel Podcast.
Yeah, I feel like it's the season finale of the Glenn Powell season.
It's definitely, is it going to be, the Dark Knight Rises? Is it going to be the Back to the Future 3? Is it going to be X-Men The Last Stand? Is it going to be Godfather Part 3? I guess it's gonna figure that out right now.
Oh yeah.
So before we get into the rest of the episode, which, if you don't know by the little intro that we did right there, we watched Twisters 2024, a reimagining, I guess I would say, to the 1996 film Twister, but this one stars Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Ken, this season, I know we started off the season with Madam Web.
Ooh.
But I know. But there's another thing that we also started doing this season here on this little place called YouTube that we're currently talking on.
Yes, we started live streaming. So hey, definitely. I mean, we've been doing this now for almost a full season, literally almost a full season, and yeah, we started a little rough with having to cover Madam Web, not the best movie we've covered, but I feel like the movies have gotten better with each week, and I mean, you'll see how much we liked this movie, or maybe possibly disliked this movie. You'll see. But yeah, on today's live stream, we are going to be covering a fun movie today. So I want to shout out our live stream audience. For those of you that are in attendance right now, looks like we have some comments, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. Jacob says, I was I'm just kidding. No. He says, I was gonna say that. I think he was referring to the if you feel it.
Chase it!
Chase it.
Chase it!
Which, funny enough, when last week when you said, when Glenn Powell says it on screen, the three of us should say it. Jacob was definitely the one who was most committed to responding back.
But I want to say that we all said it. I mean, we didn't say it hella loud.
Yeah. It was faster than I expected. I was like, oh, there's the first one already. It's like, oh crap. But Jacob knew. Jacob knew.
Yes.
Of course.
I had to respond
Of course.
to Jacob.
Of course.
I can't leave if you feel it
Unfelt.
unanswered. Oh man, but yes, join us on our live stream. I mean, again, if you don't mind spoilers, or if you watch Twisters and want to join in on the conversation, now's the time to go ahead and join the live stream. We also have a part 2 to this live stream where we will be talking about disaster films. So definitely check out that as well if you are not a fan of spoilers and have yet to see Twisters. But yeah, definitely check us out whenever you are able to.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not feeling it, then it's fine. Catch us in part 2. But this is your spoiler warning for Twisters 2024. If not, continue with the rest of the episode, because we are going to be talking about a country girl turned city girl turned country girl again that teams up with a tornado wrangler to chase Twisters. In Twisters 2024, Ken, this is honestly one of my most anticipated movies. Was it higher? Was it higher on your list or my list? I forget where we did the most anticipated.
Definitely on your list
Okay.
because I don't know if, well, I guess you don't remember, but I remember it not being on my list at all.
I think honorable mention. Maybe I forgot.
It actually wasn't even an honorable mention.
I guess Ken wasn't feeling it yet.
I'll mention that in my rule review. A little
Okay.
teaser for later.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. But let's jump into the double feature. And if you guys don't remember double feature, I think of a question. Ken thinks of a question. We're gonna like this is not the double feature. This is Twisters plural.
We got twins.
We got twins.
Twins!
Okay, I was almost gonna do favorite quotes, but I realized I'm gonna bombard Ken with that question, surprise, and then IMDb doesn't have them. I checked, so I'm not gonna make Ken remember all his favorite quotes
From last Thursday, yeah.
from last
It's
Thursday.
a little bit of an ask.
Yeah, Jacob though, who is watching, I know that he has some favorite quotes, so go ahead and throw them whenever you're. I'm gonna ask him specifically. I know he knows all the quotes, but especially the ones that are, a little bit underrated. I'm curious what's your favorite. But Ken, my question for the double feature is, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna talk about Glenn Powell right now. I'm gonna.
What?
I know.
What?
I know.
I was ready.
I'm saving it.
Whoa.
I'm saving it. Probably for a little bit later because I want to give the rest of the cast a little bit of attention. I know we've been talking about Glenn Powell this entire season.
Literally.
Who literally, yeah. This is the third movie. Who is your most favorite character outside of Glenn Powell's Tyler? Or the worst.
Ooh,
Or
or
not,
the worst.
Or the worst.
Yeah.
Both. I want to know both actually.
Oh, you want to know both? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with the fun one. Let's go with worst. I didn't like Superman. He was kind of annoying in this. I mean, honestly, in
The character Scott.
Yeah, the character Scott, played by David Corn Sweat. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. I felt like the writing didn't really do him justice, so I feel like it's not really his fault, but he did not come off as likable at all. I don't know, he just seemed very one note and just annoying in general. I felt like every time they showed him on screen, he was just annoyed like the whole time.
Right.
I don't know if he was just jealous of the fact that was it Javi, right? Anthony Ramos.
Yeah.
Javi like was just basically, oh well, I'm gonna just trust my childhood friend, my childhood chum, Kate, and I don't know if there was jealousy there, but yeah, he just was one note, and I was hoping maybe, I don't know, maybe by the end there would be a little bit of character development, but no.
Yeah. He from the very beginning to the very end, he was more of a Lex Luthor than
Than Clark
Superman.
Kent.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man, you're pretty close to Kansas in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Did you want to reveal one and then I'll give my best, so we kind of do this alternating thing,
Sure,
or did you want me to get into it?
I'll do my worst too,
Okay.
I guess.
All right. Go.
My worst isn't exactly the worst because I think he was,
Glenn Powell. No,
yeah, blasphemy.
Plot twist.
But before I mention it, Jacob did say, if you're not feeling it, you're not chasing it. That's so dumb.
Hey, no, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you aren't feeling, don't chase it for sure. He says his favorite line is, "You want one."
When was that?
So it's when him and Tyler and Kate are in the barn before they have their montage of them two going after tornadoes. She was right before they're trying to implement her formulas of taming twisters. She's like, I never got a chance to use them. And then she's like, you want one? So I guess that's his favorite.
Interesting.
My worst character is for a irrational reason, but the worst character is Javi for me because he got in the way of Tyler and Kate. I'm like, dude, no, like,
Was he really in the way though?
okay, that's true. He was more of
He was totally friend zoned from the very beginning.
That's true. That's true. But the thing is, okay, it's already been 5 years, and he's gonna bring her into his situation with the whole corporate stuff, paralleling the first movie, but now we're flipped on the other side, which I thought was really cool.
Yes.
But Javi, sometimes, man, he would just give her these looks that just I didn't feel comfortable with, you know? what I mean? I'm like, dude, back off a little bit. You know, it's just it made me feel like uncomfortable, especially the points where it's like he knows he's not doing the right stuff. He's bringing her here for the wrong reasons, and then that plot twist when he reveals to her that he knew that the whole corporate stuff with I forgot the guy's name, the mayor or something like that.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, exactly. That was trying to just make money off the land that tornadoes were destroying. Yeah, I would probably say Javi, mostly just because the weird looks.
Interesting. I'm going to rebut that a little bit.
Okay.
In that Glenn Powell was kind of giving some weird looks in the beginning too. I'm like, he was already tipping the cap and all of that. He was just, I don't know what he was trying to do, and he was really staring her down from like afar. But I don't know. I feel like those were very similar looks. So if you gotta call Javi out on that, I feel like you gotta call her boy
But
Glenn
here's the
Powell
thing,
out on
you
that.
know, no, it has to be if it's reciprocated. You know, I saw, we saw Kate giving Tyler some looks too. You know,
I mean, but can you blame her?
yeah, exactly. She wasn't giving those to Javi. Javi was like freaking way back there. He was still like, you remember when in the very beginning she just left him back in the truck? She took her boyfriend and everyone else got killed.
Yeah. See what happened when when she didn't take Javi?
Yeah.
Javi would have probably protected all of them.
Well, he probably would have got swept away too. He he probably would have fell over just looking at Kate while running towards her.
Hey, but you know what? He redeemed himself.
He did. Yeah, I agree.
He was the one who actually pulled the boyfriend move and used that thing for leverage to
we
get
need leverage.
Yeah. See? All the
dang it.
parallels. I love the
Yeah.
beginning and the end parallels. It was so good.
Exactly. Worst character, as in, if they ended up together by the end of the movie, I would have been mad.
There was no shot.
Yeah.
There was no
Good.
shot. Oh man. All right. Favorite character. Man, I can't pick Glenn Powell.
Jacob did mention this though, talking about Javi. I bet he thought that they were gonna find love in each other, going chasing again together. He probably watched Twister before going to talk to her. That's true, man. The
Very
freaking
meta.
We'll talk about the first movie a little bit later, but yeah, go ahead, Ken.
All right. If I have to pick one, I like the redemption arc of Javi. I said it. I don't. Obviously, it was very obvious the way I guess they had that falling out in the middle, where I don't know. He took a very selfish route, basically blaming Kate in a weird way. For them losing, their three close friends.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was very weird. I will. That's definitely a strike against his, him and everything. But I feel like, to his point, he really did lose three of his best friends too. And I felt like he was lost. He admitted he was lost kind of in the beginning. I think he ended up talking about going to to like Miami or whatever, joining the military, and then ultimately him latching onto obviously it's a corporate, it's supposed to be an evil corporation, but like under the guise of trying to study tornadoes to possibly prevent them. I feel like, yeah, there was that underlying thing with Colonel Sanders and everything, but I feel like his motivations, I think, were still good, in my opinion. I felt like he always wanted to study tornadoes to be able to give more lead time to prevent, further damage. Well, it'll be hard to kind of prevent damage, but at least loss of life, to give a little bit more of a warning so that people would be able to evacuate a little bit quicker than what currently exists. So that, and he really could have let Kate kind of do her own thing. He didn't really have to try to connect. He admitted to trying to reconnect a few times, and I feel like those two remaining friends, I mean, they both had shared trauma, and he was always the one that was kind of reaching out. And he was the one that put Kate in a position to be able to rediscover her love for storm chasing, and obviously her project of, and everything. It basically was the domino that thing. Without him, none of this would have happened. Yeah, I said it.
True. But we all know the real reason why he invited.
Yes, we know. And you know what? He has a crush on her.
Yeah.
I don't even fault him. He just
Don't
got
fault
friend
him, though.
zoned. I can relate because that's happened to me before.
I mean, it's just right when she touches down in the trailer park, and then it's like, oh, who's that? They call him the Tornado Wrangler. Once he steps out,
If you feel
it, chase it. Yeah, once he stepped out of that truck, Javi had no chance. So once she saw Tyler right away,
it's over.
Yeah, opposites kind of attract type thing.
Also, don't forget the end. He was rooting for them at the end. He accepted his fate.
Yeah, he's like, what did he say? Go get him, boy.
Go get him. Yeah.
Something like that.
But hey, he stepped aside like a true friend. Yeah,
there you go.
No one's perfect, but Javi, only because I think I relate to his character a little too much.
See, it was perfect because he played a really good protagonist.
Yeah.
For that bit, and then a good antagonist until he redeems himself.
Yeah.
So, and you flip-flop that with Tyler too. I thought Tyler was a good antagonist in the beginning, and then a protagonist for the rest of the movie, because I was a little scared for a while. I'm like, oh no, Glenn Powell's the villain in this movie.
Nah, they couldn't do that, especially when he was vlogging and stuff. I was like, nah, that $1 million smile, man.
I mean, you never know. Some YouTubers, man, especially those who do YouTube Live at Weekly Real Podcast.
I know.
They're villains.
I know, villains, true villains.
My favorite character would probably be Kate. I think her character, the way it was written, was almost like a 2.0 of Helen Hunt's character from the first Twister. They had similar kind of stories in that way, where they had like trauma earlier in their life. Obviously, in the first Twister, it was like she was a kid, compared to Kate, where it's like she's like young adult, college age, because they were trying to get a grant and all that stuff.
Right.
But I felt like, dude, thinking about, honestly, the opening sequences of both movies are really good.
Yeah. Honestly, I was like, oh man, they're gonna be chasing tornadoes early. I was like, we're gonna see some deaths.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not gonna end well.
The only question was like, how many of them would survive, right?
True.
But it was only Javi and Kate.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was watching another YouTube video. I think it was Double Toasted, I believe. And her boyfriend in the very beginning, I also thought this looked like a darker version of Zachary Levi. I don't know, like when I saw him on screen, he looked like Zachary Levi and Michael Ealy combined.
That's an interesting pull. I would
Right?
need to see it side by side.
Yeah, look it up. Like he has like Michael Ealy's eyes and skin tone,
Yeah.
and Zachary Levi's everything else. But yeah, Kate, I feel like her ebbs and flows in the movie, I thought was really interesting to watch. Right, for her kind of being traumatized. I know it's somewhat cliche when the first mission goes out, she kind of gets that PTSD and then she has to redeem herself. But I feel like I'm happy they did that. She didn't just jump in and conquer right away. Like at first I'm like, "Oh crap, she's too good at this." You know? It's like, "Oh, the tornado's this way, tornado's that way." And all that stuff. Tricking Tyler. I'm like, "Uh-oh. She seems like too good at this that she's going to be like overpowered in this movie."
Yeah.
But then in that first mission, they weren't able to do I thought the triangle offense, freaking Phil Jackson it, you know? That's exactly what I thought.
It's pretty
But
good.
then they couldn't complete the third part of the triangle.
Yeah.
And so because of her,
Yeah,
her
they actually
trauma.
had remember they actually had two failed attempts. So that first one she ended up getting the PTSD too close, but then she got back into it that second attempt. They got close, but then dude, they almost got swept away.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that probably triggered a little bit of PTSD also. So that was pretty bad. And then obviously, then that led into the rodeo storm too.
Oh,
After that was even closer. Holy crap, that was
yeah.
intense.
Dude, that was a good one for sure. That
Yeah,
was probably one of my favorite, but I don't want to step on your toes if that's your question for the double feature.
could be, because for my half of the double feature, I mean, you talked about it a little bit earlier. You touched on the predecessor, Twister, 1996, and so for my half of the double feature, Jeremy, what's one thing that Twisters did better than Twister, and also name one thing that Twisters did worse than Twister. And so if you want to start with one, and then I could go, and then you could go with which one you want, and then I can. So
Okay, I'm probably gonna answer your second question first. Which one? What was worse about the newer movie?
yes.
I want to say clearly, right from the beginning, it was a slow start for sure. I think compared to the first movie, I mean, not including both
Mhm.
opening scenes really good. But once we try to get that 5 years later thing going on to see where Kate is at, it took a while, I feel like, for things to get ramped up after that.
So what you're saying is you wanted to see Glenn Powell sooner.
I mean, am
Between the
I
lines.
exactly did him coming in help? Yes. um I don't feel like it fully ramped up until we made that protagonist reveal, you know? Like fully ramped up. It got better when Glenn Powell came on screen. But I want to say like right away in the first movie, I think we kind of hit that stride and it kind of stays consistent throughout.
Mm.
This movie has a little bit of a lull and then ramps up and I think gets to higher heights. A little
Ooh.
bit more of a roller coaster with this movie.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Okay, I'll start with worse as well. By the way, I agree with you. I could definitely see that in terms of the beginning part. I think it's because you don't like Javi. And that's
No,
where
no, he's good, man.
that's where we're establishing his character and reconnecting them two together. You're
I
like,
mean, he's a
boring.
GI Joe now. If
That's
people
true.
haven't seen Rise of the Beasts.
Spoiler alert
Hmm.
for Rise of the Beasts. Anyway, the thing that I feel like Twisters did worse than Twister, the original, the food. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude. I was honestly a little disappointed. I'm glad they made that reference. They
Yeah,
didn't
they
actually
did.
do it. I'm like, dang it.
I know. I was hoping that we'd get a nice freaking gigantic porterhouse again.
Yeah.
But dude, that scene, I rewatched the movie literally the night before we watched Twisters last week. And when they busted out with all the steaks, the mashed potatoes, and gravy, I was like, "Oh my god! I
Dude,
just ate dinner, and why am I hungry again?"
I don't understand how Bill Paxton's character's fiance did not like the food. You know, she wasn't feeling it. I was like, "You're an idiot."
He must have been a vegan. I'm just kidding.
Um,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just
I,
kidding. We love vegans. I'm a part-time vegan myself.
oh shoot, that's true. Jacob says, "I bet they would have, in terms of the friend group that she was with. I
Yeah.
bet they would have basically went to go eat at her mom's if they didn't all die." Dang.
I mean, yeah, it's true. I
I mean,
wonder how
how
good of a
did they?
cook Mara Tierney's character would have been, though.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Here's the thing, though. She guess who got to eat with her mom? What? Glenn Powell.
Because all pie is good pie.
All
Ooh, wrong
pies,
movie.
good pie.
Wrong movie. Oh man. That wasn't my real answer. That was just my gag
Yeah.
answer. But anyway, for sure, the cast was so stacked in the first one. I was like, holy crap! I forgot he's in that movie. I forgot she's in this movie. Literally, my mind was blown for about 10 to 15 minutes straight when they were introducing all of the characters on both the protagonist and antagonist team, and each of the characters, even the supporting characters, were all, I guess, more memorable. I feel like Twisters was more top heavy in terms of like the leads versus the supporting. I feel like it was just run of the mill, just supporting actors,
I see.
including Superman, which is weird. So I'm
That is
gonna try
weird.
to not hold that against David Cornsweet going into Superman 2025. We'll see. I'm reserving my expectations for that. But yeah, the cast was so much more stacked from top to bottom in the first one compared to this latest one.
Okay, I definitely get that. See, I mean, if David Cornsweet can't take some of the spotlight away from Glenn Powell and he's gonna be Superman, guess we'll have to see. But then again, his character was written to not be
Yeah,
likable like at all.
I know, kind of boring.
Yeah, and
Kind
he
of.
was wearing that the white button up short sleeve. I was like, "Ah,
What is
what
he?
a square!"
I know. What is he? A Jehovah's Witness? Ooh, I'm just kidding.
Dang.
No hate
What
mail,
was
please.
what, what was the first question again?
Oh, so just the opposite. What's one thing that you want to highlight that Twisters did better than the original?
Okay. Glenn Powell. No, I'm just kidding. No. Honestly, the kind of mission objectives in the
Mm,
first one, it was all about getting Dorothy to work,
yeah.
you know? And that it was interesting and very cool to watch. I remember being very nostalgic about Dorothy's like when they finally create the kind of the wings for Dorothy, right? The propellers for them to get sucked into the tornadoes. I always felt that was always super nostalgic as a kid, and then seeing it Dorothy in the beginning of this
In the
movie,
beginning, yeah, dude, that was
I was
pretty
like,
cool. The kind of the callback to the original movie.
right, and they had to leave it again. It's like how many times? But that got a
Oh.
little bit repetitive in the
Yeah,
first movie, to be honest.
agreed.
With this movie, the yeah, of course, twisters they can only do so much. Yeah, there's gonna be destruction. You can make the CGI better to make them look bigger and the sound more destructive, but in the end it's like, okay, why are they doing this?
Hmm.
And I love how basically the objectives change based on where we are in the movie. Like in the beginning we have the triangle offense trying to scan it, and by the end we have her Kate's formulas to tame Twisters. And I thought that was cool for a kind of third act final battle
Mm.
type thing against Twisters because they're almost like monsters in themselves versus these humans. So I thought it was cool how, we got to see different challenges rather than just the one thing to get working.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I felt like the once the action started going when they were actually chasing the tornadoes, there was more variety. There was a lot of more flow within the story because then you got the storm chasing aspect between like what the tornado wrangler team, I guess the YouTube team, versus like what was the name of the company? I forgot already.
Stormpar, I think.
Yeah, Stormpar. um you got that, and I was afraid we were gonna get the repeat, just the kind of the opposite
Mm-hmm.
in Twister, but then it became the Glenn Powell and and um Daisy Edgar Jones show for a little while before like it culminated at the end. And so yeah, I agree that I enjoyed the story more and the pacing more in this second one more than the first one.
Yeah, to compare it to another movie that we watched this season, it did take its time to establish. This movie isn't gonna win any Oscars or anything like that, but for maybe except for Glenn Powell. I'm just kidding.
Best actor.
Best actor. Um, in terms of building its characters, it took its time for you to get a compelling like third act.
Hmm.
And it took its time in that second act when you have that Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell's characters to really take their time and get to know them, compared to A Quiet Place Day One.
Mm,
They tried, but it was a little too late in
yeah,
the movie,
yeah,
so they paced it better in this movie.
agreed, agreed. Um, the thing I wanted to highlight that Twisters did better than Twister, since you already took my joke of Glenn Powell, I oddly like the fact that this movie then pivoted to a pretty darn good rom com movie. I think I mentioned this to you the night we watched it offline, and I was like, I enjoyed the chemistry between Daisy Edgar Jones and our good pal, Glenn Powell. They were both very likable. It was more of an innocent type thing, and even when he visited the childhood home and it was them two hanging out with Kate's mom, played by Mara Tierney, it was like good wholesome like acting dialogue, and it was pretty likable. It got me to kind of smile a little bit. I was like, what? I thought this was a disaster movie. Why is what's this why am I getting all the feels because of this rom-com that just developed
Mm-hmm.
during this movie? And so I felt like that was like a kind of an underrated aspect of Twisters. My backup question, just in case, I mean, it was kind of similar to your question. I was gonna dust off the Yinsen Award of, hey, name a underrated character or underrated scene, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the rom-com scenes were very underrated because I found those very enjoyable.
Yeah, like for example, one of my favorite moments in kind of that rom com section was when they're prepping near the end, and then they start. Um, Kate's looking out towards the horizon, and then the journalist Ben takes a picture, and then later on, Tyler's like, "Let me get one of those. Send me a copy of one of those." I was like,
Yeah.
"Ah, what an such a rom com thing to say."
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? You could that journalist or whatever, that he was taking advantage of the background. Like he probably had really good composition. He had good lighting, I bet. Um, and then he probably did his rule of thirds thing, but then he had a really cute subject.
Yeah,
And
it's like, dude, it's like who can blame Tyler? They're just going off on each other. Jacob said, "Let me get a copy of that." That's what he said.
that's what he said. But yeah, no, I enjoy the chemistry between the two, because usually in Act Two, that's sometimes when kind of makes or breaks movies.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just, oh my god, this movie is just dragging, and I was thoroughly enjoying that second act.
Yeah,
So good.
yeah, because it had more Glenn Powell.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump into the dailies, Ken. I want to give you first dibs. What's anything you want to mention about Twisters?
Yes, I wanted to reveal my favorite quote of the movie. Here, let me do my best, Kate. Wow. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, dude, that was a long wow.
Wow. That was a really good Owen Wilson impression by Kate. It was very unexpected, very sarcastic, and it obviously I felt like it was her way of flirting with Glenn Powell.
See, that's how it all starts. He
Yeah.
got the reference. He's like, Owen Wilson.
He's
He's
like,
got taste.
yes, he does. Yes, he does. I mean, I got a couple more things, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of bring some stuff up as well. I have a
Yeah,
couple, like two more things.
yeah. I actually want to ask you a question first.
Sure.
Out of the mission, oh, actually not missions. I want to say out of the tornado disaster stuff, which tornado action sequence did you like the best?
The rodeo one.
The rodeo one.
Yeah, the rodeo one, just because. Yeah, I mean, they kind of quickly foreshadowed it, because it was, I think they let our collective guards down, because there's like, oh, they're having a kind of a moment. It's like, because he still to that point was calling her city girl. That's when Kate revealed that, oh, I grew up 2 hours away from here, and it's like, this wasn't my first rodeo. Oh, another quotable, and yeah, it was very cliche, but still, they were, chemistry was on the thing, and all of a sudden you could see the kind of the winds changing, and I didn't think it was going to be that big of a tornado, I guess,
Yep.
and it ended up killing a few people, including a couple I didn't mind getting killed.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that lady was just like,
That Karen.
nine and 10, 9 out of 10 is just it's fake news.
Yeah.
And then she
Golly.
died.
Yeah.
1 in 10, I
That
guess.
was
You gotta
a
take it.
1 out of 10, man. Gotta watch out for that one.
Should have followed Glenn Powell.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, now I know. Like, if you could find like an empty pool and you're in the middle of a tornado area, hang on for dear life over there. I
Yeah,
learned
dude,
something.
like what that scene reminded me of in the first Twisters, they ran into, was it a barn or something? I forgot what it was. But they ran into somewhere they were kind of crammed, and then stuff kind of was like falling through the roof.
Yeah,
That's what it kind of reminded me of, but this one was much more intense.
yeah. The fact that it happened at night too
Hmm.
also was like, whoa, that was pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Well, what was your favorite Twister scene?
Honestly, that was probably my favorite one too,
Hmm.
but I also like when they go head to head, Storm Parr and Tyler's crew.
Which time?
Probably the first time, and when you
Okay.
see Tyler for the first time, and his music is just blaring.
You get
I think every
the
time his
you get the fireworks in the that was pretty sick, actually.
right. See, that's what I'm saying. The tornadoes
Yeah,
in the Twister, like no one has figured out how to stop them, so it's
yeah,
like why not have some fun with it?
yeah.
But I wonder how realistic it is with his truck when he drills into the freaking ground.
Yeah.
If I'm like, that's a bit of a stretch, but those things were huge.
Those
But
were pretty big in terms of whatever you call that hydraulic thing to dig into the ground a little bit more. But geez, like even at the end, which kind of gets me to my next dailies with the red truck.
mhm.
I think we talked about this shortly after we left the theater. I was getting Smallville season 1 finale vibes with the tornadoes and everything.
Heck yeah.
And I mean, it was weird that it was another red pickup truck, and I was wondering if Lana Lang was in that, played by Kristen Kirk, and I don't know, Clark Kent. I mean, there was a Clark Kent in this universe.
There
Maybe
you
he would
go.
have came over there and kind of said, like, I thought what did you say in season 1? I saw you.
Oh yeah, I thought that's right. That's right. That's what Clark said, or what Lana said to Clark.
Clark, yeah.
It's only like I thought I saw you in the tornado.
Yeah. So good.
Dude,
But
yeah, that was is so good. I bet she just dropped off Whitney at the truck stop. See, that's like I bet David Cornswell was actually Superman in this. You know,
yeah.
he's keeping his alias under
Hmm.
wraps. He's just being a dick to make sure no one knows he's Superman.
I know.
That's one way to cover it, you know.
Yeah. Yep. And then I think, wait, you were the one who brought up the Kevin Costner.
Yeah, the Kevin
You want
Costner.
here to share it with our live
Yeah,
stream audience?
I found it funny how in the movie where they were saying, you know, the worst place to be or to go and hide from a tornado is the overpass. Don't go there. Don't go to the overpass. But literally in Man of Steel, everyone's like, go to the overpass. And later on, right, Glenn Powell saves a dog from the wreckage of the towns and stuff.
Yeah.
And then in Man of Steel, Kevin Costner's character, Jonathan Kent, goes back to help someone and save their dog. But then he gets pinned down. He breaks his ankle or something like that. He can't walk.
Yep.
And then he gets caught by a twister. So he's just like, no, Clark, don't save me. So we actually have a couple of comments here. Jacob says, I actually watched a video. It is realistic in terms of the truck because they have tornado intercept vehicles. Interesting. Because I'm sure they would have done at least some research, right?
Yeah.
Only problem is that it's not low enough to where it stops the air from getting underneath. And that's why the truck got lifted in the final scene. Yeah. Because I would imagine there's like a lot of moisture going on. And that would make the ground like maybe a little bit more soft too. That, you know, the drills can't stick in as far.
Yep. Last daily that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the rom-com portion of this movie, and we are in the midst of our Glenn Powell trilogy. Which Glenn Powell romance of season 7 did you enjoy most? Anyone But You with B, played by Sydney Sweeney. The in Hitman with Madison, played by Adria Arjona, or in Twisters with Kate, played by Daisy Edgar Jones.
In terms of enjoyment and entertainment for the romance,
Yes.
I would probably say from Hitman. Yeah.
The
'cause
actual romance that was
the-
very
the f-
smoldering hot.
Yeah, smoldering hot and bunch of roller coasters, a lot of suspense. But in terms of the three that out of the three that I would definitely want them end up together, because Hitman, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there are some things that happen where I question the integrity of their relationship, you know, in Hitman. But out of the three that I think is the most like I root for them the most is in Twisters, Kate and
Okay.
Tyler. If
I
I
agree.
want
Yeah.
all of them, yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. My favorite was actually this finale with Kate, played by Daisy Edgar Jones. I feel like it was more of an innocent, like, flirtatious thing, wasn't overtly smoldering, even though those first two movies were woo.
Yeah. I mean, they're not like all of them are like good Glenn
Yeah.
Powell rom-coms.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not like Sydney Sweeney?
Right. I mean, both of them together on screen, it's like too much going on. Where do I
Yeah.
look?
There was a lot going on the entire movie, both in comedic sense and in lustful sense.
Yeah. But I feel like the jokes sometimes hit in terms of the romantic jokes hit pretty hard in this movie too.
Yes.
Just like let me get a copy of that.
Yeah, I feel like the writing was good in terms of the rom-com part in Twisters more than Anyone But You. I feel like it was a little bit more over the top with Anyone But You.
Yeah. And I guess rightfully so. It is a proper
Yeah.
rom-com.
Right.
Jacob's still obsessing over the truck. Main thing is that it's not armored too, so any debris would demolish that truck. That is true. I mean, it's a big truck, but freaking cows are flying out there. So
Yeah.
I
know what
didn't
to
see a
get.
cow in this one though.
Oh yeah,
Chickens.
not a weird CGI one like
Yeah,
like in the first one.
yeah.
Yeah, now I know what to get Jacob if I ever win the lottery. Get him a armored big red truck.
Yep. I wonder if it would have to be red.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you had a red Prius before.
That's true. I mean, red trucks seem to be bad luck though. They always get sucked up by twisters.
Yeah, just don't drive it into the middle of the country.
Yeah. Don't drop anyone off at the Greyhound beforehand.
Oh. I was like, no, I'm listening to Lifehouse in the back of my head right now.
All right, before we get into our real reviews, Jacob did say, LOL, when you get a chance, look up Reed Timmer's Dominator 3, Insane Intercept Vehicle. Probably the best ever. But does it have some bullhorns on the front? Yeah, does it have Glenn Powell? Yeah, I mean, it could. You could bring it over to Glenn Powell. He'd probably be impressed.
By the way, the one random thing that I noticed from that truck was his Tornado Wrangler emblem. It was pretty cool. It was a tornado with a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
It was dope. I kind of want that.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. I was like, oh, is that the Rock's logo? I'm like, no, it's a twister with the bullhorns on it.
Yeah. Almost the Rock.
Yeah, I want a t-shirt of that too. Oh, by the way, we got to look up some Twisters shirts that Tyler had. What was the saying on it? Do you remember?
I forgot what it said. But that was also I feel like a funny scene when Tyler gave one of his shirts to Kate's mom. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think that's when the mom knew that it's like, okay, this guy has all this bravado and all this stuff, but deep down he's kind of a dork, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's jump into the real reviews again. I am curious because honestly, this can go either way. For Twisters 2024, what's your real review?
All right, well, this may be a hot take, but disaster movies have always been meh to me for the most part. I don't know if it's because when disaster movies were in its heyday in the 90s and 2000s that I always wanted to gravitate to either something a little bit more substantial in terms of the writing or something a little bit more grounded. But enter Twisters 2024. Even with all the lighthearted hype we've been throwing Glenn Powell during this podcast season, Twisters was never in my upper echelon of anticipated movies for 2024. And maybe because of that, I was never burdened with high expectations. Twisters not only delivers with spectacle, but its two main leads, Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones, as well as its main supporting actor, Anthony Ramos, are all memorable and, in my opinion, very likable. Yes, I said Javi is very likable. Still crazy to me that Twisters ended up being a really good rom-com while still shedding light on the thrill-seeking aspect of storm chasers and the carnage tornadoes can cause in the aftermath. I did not expect I'd like this movie as much as I ultimately did, because on the I Love You 3000 scale, I'm giving Twisters a 25/20 out of 3000, which is an 84%.
Ooh, that's a pretty high score, actually.
I enjoyed this movie a lot. It's in the running for joining my top 5 of 2024.
Okay, all right. Okay, for me, Twisters, is the third Glenn Powell movie that we are watching this season. Anyone But You that we talked about, Hitman, and now Twisters. Twisters is easily the most rewatchable out of the bunch. Twisters is also like a 2.0 from the 1996 film, and I can say that because I was literally born that year, and I get a lot of nostalgia from that. And this movie improves upon that movie in almost every way, in my opinion, from the soundtrack to the disaster action sequences, and for the most part, the pacing of this movie. There is a little bit of a lull sometimes. I don't want to say where, but for the most part, this movie has the high highs that you want, and it gives you charismatic actors in Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones writing that Twister. So I am going to give Twisters a 2460 out of 3000. So that's roughly what, 80%, 81%, something like that.
Sounds like we watched the same movie.
Yeah. I
Like,
think I had slightly higher expectations, right?
yeah.
But as I almost gave it actually a lower score coming out of the movie. But now remembering it and kind of reminiscing, thinking about how the movie was, I actually think it was better now that I let it settle. And that, I think that's rare. Normally movies go down after you think more about it.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, actually went up.
Agreed. Yeah, usually, there's that recency bias. It's like, oh man, that was really good. And you kind of put your blinders on for some of the not so great parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. It tends to go usually down as you go. I remember in the earlier seasons of the podcast when we would cover an MCU movie and we'd re-rank based off of each one of those rewatch episodes. I remember there'd be certain movies that I'm like, I don't know. Now that I'm a little bit further on, I think it's a little bit lower.
Right.
Especially like new movies when we're trying to rank it with the rest of the MCUs. But yeah,
I'm sure that's going to be a topic too when we cover our RKO awards, our finale episode, kind of recapping the season. I think that would be an interesting thing to talk about.
Agreed.
My favorite quote, though, I think I finally thought of one for this movie. Besides the "Let me get a copy of that," is the if you don't face your fears, you ride them.
Oh, yeah, dude. I forgot about that. I forgot because he was like a bull rider or something, right? That he shared during the rodeo.
Yeah. Then he got an accident, didn't come back to it.
Yeah, it was good. That is, I mean, and it looks like Jacob agrees with you.
Yeah, he says that's the best one.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. That's good, man. I think I need to rewatch this movie.
I know, I think so too. Now I just want to make a list of all like the quotes because IMDb doesn't have them.
Yeah, I know.
Made me trying to think hard about this movie. And speaking of thinking hard about this movie, Ken, we are playing to guess the Rotten Tomatoes score. I know that you kind of got a tie last week, and that kind of clinched my win for the season. But we're still going to play regardless. I have 12 points. You have 10 points.
I'm aiming for that tie to finish the season.
Yeah.
But in the weekly real podcast, just like the WWE, you gotta beat the champion. You can't tie the champion. But I'm still going for that tie because I feel like it would be the fitting end to this season of Guess the Rotten Tomatoes score, because we've literally tied at least 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, at least 5 or 6. I was gonna say like 5 times, but
Yeah,
after last
something like
week,
that.
could probably be 6.
Yeah.
Unless this is gonna be 6, because Ken, what is your guess for Rotten Tomato score?
My guess for Rotten Tomatoes is around where, I guess maybe a little bit lower than my real review score. I'm guessing 79%.
Okay, I guessed way off from you. I guessed that critics did not like it at
Mm.
52%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Watch it be
So
right smack dab in the middle.
I would have to do the math on that, and it seems like who knows. So you guessed
Shoot.
79, I guessed 52.
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
76%, which makes me happy in a way because I also like this movie. I'm glad I was wrong, but at the same time, I'm not glad because now that we can tie, I want a dominating, dominating performance. But for those listening, Twisters has a 76% on the tomato meter
Whoa,
with
look at that audience score.
317. Yeah, audience score, they're loving it right now. And I actually watched a video recently on our pal John Campia, his show, that
What's up, John?
Twisters. Yeah, there you go. What's up, John? We're still here. Hope you're watching.
He is.
That Twisters. Yeah, exactly. We know he is. That Twisters actually did better than expected at the box office. They were projected to make, I think, 40 million, and they made 80 in opening
It
weekend.
has to be the nostalgia. I want to say it's not to the same degree as Top Gun Maverick 2 years ago, but I feel like because there was so much time in between the first one and this latest one, what is it, 28 years?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah, 28 years.
yeah, because that's how old you are.
I know. I have to think about it for a second. um, this movie, though, I feel like people are a little tired of superhero stuff. I think besides the one that's coming out next week, I think they're a little fatigued on that superhero stuff, especially bad ones. They need to know that it's good first going in. I mean, we watched Madam Web, and I was talking with Jacob the other day about what's the worst superhero movie you've seen. I haven't seen Morbius or anything like that, or other movies that we mentioned that we didn't watch, but Madam Web was down there, and I think people are clamoring for good movies that are like, but still like blockbusters, of this season. And so this is, a not really original movie, but it's kind of set in a more grounded universe than a superhero movie, and I feel like that's what's connecting with people.
Yeah, that, and I feel like people will pay attention to something like a Rotten Tomatoes score because, similar to what you brought up with the box office performance and it be beating expectations, I think it's official now that Inside Out 2 is actually the absolute highest grossing animated film of all time.
Oh,
And
dang.
yeah, it
That's
it
insane.
surpassed Frozen 2, I believe.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know Inside Out was that popular. I thought freaking
It,
Frozen
I'm
was like
telling you.
top dog.
Yeah, Pixar. Especially if like top-notch Pixar. Uh and it's a name brand. And again, I to your point, I feel like there is that superhero fatigue, and so people are just clamoring to be able to watch some sort of blockbuster. Um something that you would really need to take advantage of a large format screen. And that's why a year ago, literally in July, we had the Barbenheimer deal with and how that boosted box office performance because of those two.
Yeah. So we got a comment here. Asylum Saint says, no one wants to watch anything original, it seems, anymore. Dungeons and Dragons was absolute fire and no one watched it.
Yeah, that was very sad actually. It was surprisingly really good. I didn't think it was going to be good, and had a good cast, and it ended up being very watchable.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet. I heard good things and I probably will watch it. I know it's streaming Max
Is it Max?
or either that or Prime. I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah, I think it's Prime.
But yeah, that, I mean, I think the marketing didn't help that movie very much. I remember going to LA, going to Vegas, and like the city was just plastered with twisters. With Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know. I didn't see as much marketing on that. Unfortunately, that's like the name of the game too, even though they're like good movies.
Agreed. Yeah. So it's streaming on your favorite platform, Jeremy.
MGM Plus.
and Paramount Plus too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Shoot. Oh, there was actually a couple more follow-ups, Jeremy.
Yeah. See, Asylum Saint also says trailer for D&D made it feel like a Marvel movie. Yeah, and not like a good one, I guess.
It was kind of goofy.
Those movies made it feel like the Marvels or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly. But speaking of superhero movies, Ken, what are we watching for next week?
Perfect segue. Thank you, Asylum Saint, for that. Next week, on the season 7 finale, we catch up with Deadpool after the time-bending events of the end of Deadpool 2, as he links up with his popular X-Men counterpart in Deadpool's first appearance in the MCU, Deadpool and Wolverine. And so, yeah, next week, again, we're wrapping up another season. This season went by sort of slow, but it went by really fast at the same time. I can't believe that we already finished another season of the Weekly Reel podcast. Yeah, me and Jeremy are actually watching it tomorrow, opening night, official opening night, and so we're pumped up to watch it. So yeah, watch it in theaters this weekend so that you could join next week's live stream, which will be a week from today on the 31st.
Yes. I am so excited for this movie. And I was excited for Twisters, and penultimate episodes are usually like the best, right? Because they're setting up everything, and the finale's a lot to take in too. So I'm glad we watched Twisters, but I am also ready to watch Deadpool and Wolverine.
I just hope it's good.
I hope it's good. I'm trying not to get spoiled before we watch it. I saw a little bit of spoiler stuff in terms of on action figures, and honestly, that latest trailer was not
Yeah, it
necessary.
gave away too much. Yeah, it gave up too much. I
But
know
if
what you're talking about. I saw it too.
If people are out there, don't watch the latest trailer. Go in and blind as much as possible. I think that'll be much better. Jacob, I know you're watching. Don't go on the Hot Toys page. I think there's a little bit more spoilers on there. But for next weekend, next week we're gonna be also here. Is that right? We're gonna be live, I think.
Yes, we are going to be live on this small platform called YouTube. Again, we started this at the very beginning of this latest season of the Weekly Reel podcast, season 7. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by going on to your app or on your browser, youtube.com. Go ahead and search for Weekly Reel podcast. Hit that subscribe button, and obviously don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get alerts on whenever our live stream schedule gets released, because I know sometimes our day jobs kind of affect the start times, but surprisingly in the last few weeks it really hasn't. We've got that groove again, just in time for us to end the season.
Better late than never.
I know, exactly. But yeah, follow us on YouTube, subscribe, comment on some of our older videos. I mean, we have notifications on both of our apps, and so we'll if we notice any comments, we'll go ahead and respond back as quickly as we can on YouTube.
Yeah, so if you don't if you don't want to watch on YouTube, that's fine. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Weekly Reel Podcast. Go and search it up there, and you get all the latest updates on Instagram at Weekly Reel, and you get all the cool videos nicely edited by Ken that are posted on TikTok, which is at Weekly Reel Pod. You'll get all our real reviews there and little clips of us, just doing our thing. If you don't want to watch here on YouTube, but I am excited to bust out the claws and the golden guns for next week in Deadpool and Wolverine. But until then, we'll see you next time on the reel.